everyone. You're listening to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. Lodgy part of the show, 704-873-9929. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated at the opening as the good senator just hit me with a rolled up piece of paper. I don't know why. It's like
it's a training mechanism, but not for you, for me. I was telling you what I need.
Okay.
So listen back to our show last week because we got a lot of feedback from folks. Gosh, me and my email and folks in Raleigh. And so I listened back and I was like, what did we say to get this type of feedback? David, did you hear from other folks?
I did. I had a couple of texts of people that listen to us. Someone jokingly, asked me why I hate kids and don't want them to have health care. And I was like, how did I get drug into this? And I was like, oh, yeah, we did talk about the Children's Hospital.
Yeah, I was at a fundraiser.
Well, I wasn't against it or anything like that. It was more broader philosophical discussion. But yes.
You just hate children?
I just hate. Yes, exactly. Mine have sent me over the edge, and I just, forget. I don't believe the children are our future. The children annoy me, so we don't want them to have health care either.
There's a joke which I always mess up jokes, so I'm going to try anyways. And I heard, my wife and I had to sit down and had the most uncomfortable conversation with our children. It was time. We just couldn't figure out how to tell them we need to give them back.
Yes.
We don't want them. That's not really the joke. The joke is better than that. I messed up the joke line. I'm sorry.
You're not a good joke teller.
I'm a horrible joke teller.
The only thing that you're worse at from joke telling is politicking. You're not a good politician.
That came up in my email too this week.
Did anybody disagree that you actually were a good politician?
So a guy kind of tongue in cheek emailed me about the Charlotte Transit and wanted more information, and he said, well, since you're such a bad politician, why didn't you talk about how the transit tax would be unfairly putting one community? Oh, I said, okay. Well, thank you for listening to the show.
Well, yes. And I hope your day gets better.
Okay. So the hit was, as I was listening back to the show, and I tended to say the word spelled UM over and over and over again. And it really got on my nerves.
Okay.
So I made a makeshift stick.
A makeshift stick.
So if I should say the word, that's right. That's how it works.
I'm supposed to hit you.
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, I'm digging this, honestly.
So I was just doing a little show prep, and I wanted to let you know how it worked. That's why, But
that's
thank
why you hit me.
Welcome to the.
All right, so I'll just continue this rolled up piece of paper, and
yes. Until I stop saying kind of like a dog when you're trying to teach him how to, use the potty.
Well, you use a rolled up piece of paper on your dog?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what we used to. Now we sent our last dog to a trainer and who did fabulous job. I'm sure they did not use a rolled up.
No, we sent ours to the same trainer that you did.
Yes.
And they encourage the little electric collar that like vibrates.
So if that doesn't work, they're going to do an electric
honestly
collar.
Yes, I like that. I think we took we don't use mine on my dog anymore because she's an English bulldog and she's long past listening, and if I use that thing like any more than I did, it'd be like putting her in the electric chair. So we've abandoned all hope that she's going to obey. So so now it's just like we just let her just go and do her own thing.
Well, I mean, you said she's a couch potato.
She is a couch potato.
So it's not like she's going to get like really gone very far.
No, she won't go. Well, that was never the problem. Here's the problem with Maggie is that at some point around, like, we give her last feeding at 9:30 in the hopes that she will not wake up hungry through the night. And then we take her out, let her do her business, everything like that. And then usually around 3:00, we get a bark. And so it's like, okay, so we go down, we let her out, and then we come back, and I just get settled back into bed, and then I get another bark.
Oh.
And it's like, well, you have water, you just went out, so I've got to do, Maggie, leave it, hush, leave it. And then I get settled back down, and then it's like, and so then eventually what has happened is that my wife will tend to go down and then like
just
sit with her and just stay down with her.
Makes sense.
And now Maggie has grown accustomed to that.
Sure.
And so she expects that every night. And so that has caused, some serious sleep deprivation in my home to the point where I've been researching sleeping pills for dogs just to see if I can get her. So there's some out there, but I don't want to go that far.
So I do have a quick dog story. Hopefully I'm better at telling a story than I am a joke, but past history's probably going to say no. So my girlfriends and I get a note from one of our daughters, not mine, but a daughter, and she was dog sitting. So her summertime job from college is like on that Rover app where you can schedule somebody and they go let your dog out or walk your dog or whatever you need to have done. So she had 3 places that she was going to go. The first place that she went, she said that the dogs met. Oh, you got me. You got me. The first, okay. That was the stick. For those of you who are just listening online, I got the stick. Okay. The first house she went to, she said that the poop was so smelly, it made her regurgitate.
Mm-hmm.
The second house she went to, she couldn't find the can opener. So she tried to open it with a knife. And this is when we got the call. She had cut herself like the meaty part of her hand with a knife. So, of course, moms to the rescue. We run down to this neighborhood like 30 minutes away to go bandage up this sweet little girl in tears, right? But she's got to go to the third house. So then, of course, you know, moms with our mom capes on, we're going to go help her. So my friend and I are sitting outside when the daughter went in with another mom to let these 2 dogs out. Well, they never thought to let the one dog out that is a Jack Russell Terrier and put it on a leash.
Ooh.
Because the note said he'll stay around the older dog.
Okay.
Well, that was not Moki that day.
That did not happen.
Next thing I know, Moki is running out the front, going right down the as fast as he can. I mean, his ears were in the wind, and there's this dog, and I'm in the Tesla. So my girlfriend starts running after it. There's no way she's going to get it. So I take the Tesla and I'm like, okay, I'm going to head off Moki. I'm like, get in the car, Moki. Come on, Moki. And every time I got close to him with the car, he would like even faster. I mean, this kid had like 8 gears. I mean, he was gone. So then I knew I could grab him. So I run really fast to the Tesla. Like I floor the Tesla, which has great pickup. I get into, and I take a right in front of Moki, thinking that I'll get Candace to open the door. Moki will lovingly come into the car.
I see no flaws in this plan.
None. Okay. And there's video, by the way. There's a video.
I was gonna say, do you had your Century
There's a
cam on during
video
this?
of the Tesla because you can see Moki driving along the.
I need this video.
Okay. So I pull really fast, thinking we're going to head Moki off at the pass. Candace, get out of the car. The next thing you know, Moki, you see him on the camera. He looks at the car. He runs around the car and he goes into the great beyond. And then you see in the video my friend Candace running after Moki, and at the very end of the hill, she falls.
Oh no, she didn't fall.
So the next hour and a half, we're sweaty, we're angry, we just Moki. Where's Moki? In this random neighborhood in a red Tesla with my Senate tags. I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere.
There's got to be doorbell video of this. If you have it, please send it into the show.
Don't.
Yes, please. No,
it was
please.
not my finest moment.
Well, honestly, you were making a solid effort. And honestly, when you think about it, why wouldn't, like, when you speed up and jerk a rig red Tesla right in front of a dog and open the door and say, get in? I don't understand why that didn't happen. It seems perfectly reasonable to me that the dog would have been okay.
The dog was an Olympian. He did come home. He did come home. You want to know how I know?
How? Because
the neighbor came over and said, hey, he's here. And we're like in the middle of the woods battling poison ivy.
Oh gosh. See, the good thing about Maggie is, being an English bulldog, she's good for a quick spurt, but she does not have sustained. She does not have stamina. So if she jumps off of me, she's got a little. Once you get all that girth going in one direction, it goes
kind of like
right.
me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I can go. I can build up some speed and some momentum. There's just not much of stamina there. Well, I'm glad that Moki came home and you were not, subject to ridicule from the owners.
The end of the story is the young lady. That was her last day of taking care of dogs.
So she has discontinued the Rover app.
She realized it might be better to go do some other things.
Bless her heart.
It was so sad, but
Bless
a lot of fun.
Well, you did have a couple of things going on in Raleigh this week.
Yeah.
You didn't chase any dogs down there, hopefully.
No, I did not.
Metaphorically, maybe, but not actually literally.
So I was home all week, which was
really?
great. Except for last night we had a fundraiser for a lady who ran last time in the Republican primary out of close district in Senate, right outside of Wake County. Her name is Vickie Harry. And of course, I love her because her name is Vickie.
Well, naturally.
How she
Does she
doesn't
spell it the same?
No, she doesn't spell it the right way.
Oh, she doesn't. She does it with the Y.
No, she spells it the way everybody else spells it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But she's beautiful. She's got a great, beautiful family. She's exciting. She's just the kind of person that you would want to. So we went into support of her. And then I had to get some other stuff done in the place that I have down there. So yeah, so I was there for a little bit. But in the meantime, life moved on with the General Assembly. Well, not really with the General Assembly, because we were on vacation, on a break, actually
On a break, Memorial Day
on
week.
a break.
Yes, they're Memorial Day week.
That hopefully we were on a break, because like the old friends said, because we were not happy, as we talked about last week, with each other.
You guys were not. You need a little space. You need a little time away from each other.
Absence does make the heart grow fonder, correct?
Well, that's what they say. And there's been instances where that's not been my experience, but obviously, so I guess next week you'll be back at it trying to get the budget solidified.
Yeah. So next week, remember, the House passed their budget with bipartisan support, and now it's over in the Senate. It'll be up to the Senate sub-appropriation chairs to get together and see what they did and compare what the House did versus the Senate. For transportation, I'm committed to working with my House counterparts to see what we can find. I actually reached out to Representative Tyson and to say, hey, listen, when we're starting to work on this, let me know what really is the must-haves, right? Let's get something worked out, because if you guys saw us work last time around when we had budget issue, the transportation committee did not. We got our work done. Oh, got me. That was the
You really sure you want me doing this?
Yes, I do. I have to stop saying that word.
Okay.
I do. So ultimately what happened was is that broke my total train of thought. Oh, so we were able to get all of our work done early because we could see that there may be some issues with both the House and the Senate last time around. I'm committed to having that same workflow this time, and so I've reached out to our counterparts and say, let's work on this now. So before it gets to the big chairs, that way transportation will be all ready to go.
So let me ask you something. One of the things, I went to a fundraiser for Addison McDowell, and
I was supposed to go to that.
You were supposed to go to that. I know that you had some stuff come up and couldn't get to it, but had a great conversation. Now he's doing a great job.
Yes,
one of our guys, he was spent a lot of time in Raleigh, got to know him there. He's doing a fantastic job for his congressional district. But he had a Q&A time, and one of the things that people were talking about were Doge cuts and things like that. And one of the things he brought up that I didn't realize is, and I think it's pretty much true, similar in North Carolina, about 80% of the federal budget really is entitlement programs. It's a huge number of entitlement programs. And so really you can go to the periphery and cut things, but in order to get where you need to be, there has to be Medicaid reform, there has to be Social Security reform, there has to be Medicare reform. And obviously, the president has expressly stated we're not touching Social Security, we're not touching Medicare. The Medicaid, portion of it is, eliminating sort of the waste, fraud, and abuse, also making sure that, able-bodied, 27-year-old guys are not on people who have the capability to work are not able to, do Medicaid and milk the system and stuff like that. And so, but I think a lot of people, maybe don't realize, even at the state level, a lot of your spending that you all deal with, a lot of it's run the government basic stuff, and then it's social programming. So really the amount of flexibility in dollars you have to work with isn't as big as maybe some people think.
So isn't the work requirement that they're considering like 80 hours a month?
Something like that.
So that'd be on average like 15 to 20 hours a week,
it's
depending
like,
on.
That'd be 20 hours a week.
So that would be an average of what, like 2 shifts, 2 full-time, 3?
3 shifts.
2.5 shifts.
Yeah, 2.5 shifts.
Yeah, an able-bodied man. So I always go back and forth on that, because we've talked about this on our program before. That you didn't hit me, thank you. So we talked about this on our program before about how we all have healthcare, right? Everyone accesses healthcare. What we have is a payer problem. So even if the same person who doesn't or isn't covered by Medicaid and they're uninsured, if they break their arm, they're still going to get a cast at the hospital.
Yes, go into the emergency room.
Yeah. So if we could. Will a work requirement really incentivize certain people to do that? You know what? I
Yeah.
think for
Well,
kids at 27 years old, I don't know that they always understand how valuable health insurance is.
I don't know that. I mean,
I
I
mean, I
guess
do want them to work. I see the idea, but I mean, it seems like every time you put a regulation like this in, somebody's just going to figure out a way to skirt it.
well, they do, and I think, but it's like, what's the alternative, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
that's fair.
right now we are incentivizing people not who are perfectly capable of working not to work.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
I mean, because they don't have to, and they can still get, Medicaid, and, they can go to an emergency room, and, we're still stuck paying. Right.
Yeah.
And so you put the work requirements in hope that, right,
Mhm.
we can get people motivated. I mean, if you take it away, there will be people who are like, oh, okay, you know what, I'll just, go to the emergency room if I need.
Mhm.
And then it's a vicious cycle, right? Because you got the person who doesn't want to work. They don't,
Yeah.
they if you take them away their healthcare, like, oh, well, I just won't go to the doctor. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, time passes, they start feeling bad, they go into the
Yeah.
emergency room with headaches or something like that, and we take them through, and we do a CT scan, and we do an MRI, all of which has to be paid by somebody. It's not going to
Right.
be paid by them, it's going to be paid by somebody. Find out, oh gosh, there's an undetected brain tumor there.
Right.
And now they have to go in, and it's, 100, 200, $350,000 in treatment that they can't be denied. Right. And so then someone has to pay for that.
Yeah.
And it really is, I think it's an issue. Again, I know just enough about healthcare to be dangerous. My brother-in-law is a healthcare administrator, runs a hospital system. He's been doing it for a while. And he and I had a pretty extensive conversation about this not too long ago, when we were out watching some baseball. And he was telling me that, hey, look, there is no good answer for the situation we find ourselves in right now, because all of it stems through, you eventually, you can put all these policies in place, you can put all this, different programs and monies in place. At some point in time, the breakdown comes to human behavior and and whether or not people are going to do what it is they should do.
Be doing.
And so many times people, they're just some that are simply not going to do it.
Yeah. So even if you had them insured, it doesn't mean that you're going to make them go to a regular checkup of their general physician.
Exactly.
Right.
And and that's the whole thing about it, is like, a ton of healthcare costs can be avoided by regular checkups. That's why insurance companies incentivize those things. Hey, go and you get extra dollars back towards this. And, you get lower premiums if you go and you do your checkups and things like that. People still, at some point, there's a human component that has to kick in, and we haven't really figured out how to make sure that it does, because like, you can't be, and then you have people who sometimes get to these points as a result of their own actions, and you can't say, well, no, you just die in America.
Yeah,
that's not an option.
So let's have I was reading, or I was forwarded some information on a white paper about how North Carolina healthcare cost isn't the most expensive as we had thought. Actually, it's more or less like in the middle of the pack, but the employers, and I think there's like, I'm going to mess this up, 48% of those who are insured in North Carolina are insured through an employer health plan. And of that cost, the employees bear the majority of the brunt of the cost, whereas other states it's opposite, where the employer carries more. But we need to have some healthcare folks on here again, because this is really a hot topic about, and see where everything's going with this session.
Well, when I was, when I was in corporate America, when I first got into corporate America, I had an excellent health plan. Had me and my family on it. And I think it came up to about, $125 a pay period. That in my, I mean, that's a low premium that my employer covered.
And you are ancient. So
and I am ancient.
Like probably 50 years
I am
ago,
ancient.
Right?
Yes, I am truly ancient. And then at the end, when it finally got towards the, when I left Wells Fargo, I was paying about $1,600 total a month. And I had to go on to a COBRA benefit, which was $2,200 a month total out of my pocket. So basically my costs went up about $600, and to be on a COBRA benefit plan, which, so I was shouldering a good portion of the majority of it when I left. And that's, and even then, I mean, not to sneeze at an additional $600 a month, I mean, that was a lot. I was fortunate in the sense I could do it, but you're right. It has come to a point where employers simply aren't covering. And to be fair to some of them, especially small businesses, I was having a conversation with a small business owner in Mooresville this week. They can't afford to do it.
Right.
I've heard from people who say, well, we need a $22 minimum wage and full health care. Like, these small businesses cannot afford to do that.
No,
they simply don't make them. A lot of people have this illusion that these small business owners are just raking in massive
so for
money.
us, I mean, for me, for someone who writes those checks every month, we had to, the Obamacare thing actually totally got us out of that market and encouraged us to disband our small business plan, and then just to reimburse and let everybody go to the market on their own and give them full reimbursement reimbursement for their individual plan because we just couldn't. And then also it kind of stunk because we would say, well, Brett and I could afford, I don't know, say a $5,000 deductible, but our staff couldn't.
Right.
And so it wasn't really fair to make them continue to do all that without you were just it's really tough. It's really tough for small employees. So.
My nurse practitioner wife is texting me, going off about the costs and the issues that she sees. Which
I bet.
She sees a lot of them.
I know.
Absolutely, in her world.
Hey, so speaking of cost, and I know we can't really get into it, but I do want to tease something.
Oh.
So do you know who my first employer was ever in? Oh, I think I told you that my first ever pay. I still have a copy of my paycheck.
Really?
I do. I used to be sentimental
Aww.
Until my heart got cold and
until you got embittered and
over
cold.
time.
Yeah,
yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, it does, especially if you're elected.
Exactly. Happens exponentially quicker if you're elected.
So my first ever job was a paid internship with Winston-Salem for Forsyth County School System Superintendent. So I would answer his phones and run reports and do everything all summer long. And it was my first office job. And I felt so excited. Although he wasn't in the office very much. So I didn't get to see him that much. In fact, when he did come in, I would be very nervous because I didn't really know him. But it was an awesome experience. But that school systems had some issues. Have you?
I did. I saw that $32 million in debt through financial mismanagement. And so, and I don't understand how those things happen. I mean, we have an audit. School systems, just like cities and counties, are required to file an audit. But now, to be fair, a lot of them don't. You'd be amazed how many cities and counties and places don't even file audits and things like that. But $32 million in debt.
I know.
And that's a huge, I don't know how, that's not an easy makeup somehow to be able to manage that. And then you still got to keep the system functioning.
Well, okay. So the school board, so I actually went down a rabbit hole on this one this morning. So the school board attributes the deficit to several factors.
Okay.
Tariffs. Course, never not the right.
Were tariffs in there? Orange man bad? Was that part of it?
The first one, which is BS.
Okay.
The first one is total BS. Frozen state funding during the pandemic. We gave so much federal money to school systems during the pandemic.
The pandemic was
nuts.
It was carnival time for spending during the pandemic between federal funding and state.
Yeah. Frozen state funding during the pandemic. That's when I started going down the rabbit hole on this one. Because I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Come on. Then they say a loss of more than 2,700 students. So the state reimburses the school districts by their average daily membership. Mm-hmm. And so the more students you have, the more money that you receive per student. But my thing is that if you knew you didn't have 2,700 students left, that didn't happen just overnight.
No.
Couldn't you? It sounds like they ballooned positions during COVID with all the federal dollars. And then you adding on because they were shut down for freaking ever.
So
the loss of 2,700 students. And then that collides in the perfect storm of reduction of funding, but overspending. Yeah. I don't know. That's me. That's me drawing.
Well, no. Well, here's the deal. If your enrollment has gone down by 2,200 kids, 2,700 children, mm-hmm. then by simple math, you do not need the personnel that you
and that was at the end. That was one of the last things they said was that they had over expenditure funding on staff. And I doubt that's at the teacher level.
No, I'd be willing to bet that's not at the teacher
Especially
level.
Because we do, and the state pays the majority of teacher salaries, and then the county comes in with a supplement for each teacher, so that wouldn't really have affected it either.
Right. And honestly, what I will tell you is that I have seen this firsthand in a number of different areas, mm-hmm. where when big one-time infusions of cash come in, right. A lot of people hire recurring personnel on non-recurring funds. And then when that money runs out, they then have to figure out a way to continue to pay those people, mm-hmm. when they no longer have the funding mechanism coming in to fund them. Worst possible decision you can ever make is hiring someone off of one-time money.
Right.
That's not coming back.
Because it's worse. It also gets emotional after that too, because then you develop a friendship with that person, and then the electeds have to, they don't have to fire him, but the city manager does or county manager does, and it just gets awkward and weird.
Well, and then what happens is that they come back when the money is no longer there. They come back. We need more funding. State, we need more funding. City, we need more funding. County, we need more funding. And it's like, we're gonna have to lay these people off if you don't give us more money. And it's like, we didn't give you money to hire them to begin with.
I know. So check this out. So the school board does have great ways to fix this.
Okay, what are their solutions?
The school board could add one. They have three. One, the school board could ask the State Board of Education for a small piece of their budget and spread out the debt over years.
No, hey, that's
yes.
Okay. So
That's
you're
the one.
$32 million in debt. What you would like us to do is give you additional money to then spread out additional debt.
Yes.
Over a long period of time.
It's like your gambling uncle who comes to a random Sunday lunch.
Yes.
Only to ask you for money because he's out.
Yes, exactly. I pay, what is it? What is it? I don't know if you ever watched Popeye, at the comic strip Popeye, and then everything like that. But there was Wimpy, who loved cheeseburgers, and his line was, "I will gladly pay you Thursday for a hamburger today." And so it seems like that's what they're telling you. We will gladly pay you 50 years from now for a loan today.
We need to do the little AI thing and have them do cartoons behind our little sayings, and that could be our show promo.
Honestly, I've been diving down the AI rabbit hole.
I love it.
There's some cool stuff
that
you can do
is.
with AI.
Okay,
but what's the other solution?
Before the break, let me give you the two other brainiac solutions that the school board came up with, and they're actually not wrong. This is probably what's going to have to happen. The county board, that's Forsyth County Board, could decide to substantially increase the property tax rate to generate enough revenue to help cover the deficit.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's just give you more money.
And the third and final option, obviously not the most important, the district could significantly reduce its expenditures for the next year in order to pay its creditors.
Oh, darn.
I vote for 3.
Yes, I vote for 3. Well, and honestly, what needs to happen here is that they're not getting out of that.
Yeah.
By any of decreasing spending is going to be the only way they're going to be able to do it. Somebody's going to have to come in and bail them out. That's simply how it's going to have to work. And so, but what needs to happen is that a for lack of a better term, a caretaker, independent caretaker needs to be put in charge of all the finances of that school district and has to be the person who approves all expenditures. And they need to make cuts. They need to, that's honestly that, because you can't rely on them to do it. They're the ones who got themselves in this mess.
Let's talk about possible solutions after the break, because we're coming right up on the break.
You have a solution?
Well, the county commissioners have spoken, the school board has spoken, and I've got both sides.
Well, there you go. All right. You're listening to We're Just Saying. We'll be right back.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the ANC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with the station.
Hurricane Helene, devastating impacts on the Southeast. Now it's time to help the people and communities who need it most. To make a one-time financial gift to the American Red Cross and enter how much you'd like to donate, or go to redcross.org/donate. Together, we will make a difference for those recovering in hard-hit communities.
This is John Stossel. Anything that makes it harder for you to speak limits your life. So if stuttering affects you or your child or someone you know, you can call the Stuttering Foundation for help. The number is 800-992-9392. That's toll-free 800-992-9392. Or you can visit their website, www.stutteringhelp.org. They can refer you to expert help in your state.
We all want more of a North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station. We all want more of a North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. Like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929. So before we went to break, you said that the school board had weighed in. Now the county commission has weighed in. So what are the thoughts?
Well, there is someone who says the very easy fix for all of this is the tax increase. So right now they are about 4.2 cents tax increase above revenue neutral. So for those of us who don't really do budgeting, revenue neutral is that
basically you spend what you take in.
You spend what you take in. So they're going to spend what they take in plus 4.2 cents over that as of now. But if in order to cover the shortfall, they really can take that 4.2 cents up to 9 or 10 cents more.
Then for those of us who may not be aware, who in that area to be aware, that's an additional 6 cents, give or take, per $1,000 on your property, or 100.
No, 100. Per 100.
Per $100.
Which would mean north of. Oh no, sorry. It means more of north of $100 extra increase for the medium homeowner in Forsyth County.
Okay, additional $100.
So everybody has to pay $100. So that's not bad.
Well,
I guess it is bad.
Well, here's the deal. It's spread. The majority of property tax payments do come in the form of mortgages.
Yeah.
And so that'd be an additional $100 spread over.
Yeah.
12 months.
It's still
bad because at the end of the day, you're giving more money into people who grossly mismanaged it to begin with.
I know.
And so I mean, but they're probably going to have to do that.
Yeah. So, but a good news, a scapegoat has been identified.
Oh well, there's always a scapegoat.
There's always a scapegoat.
Is it your fault? Everything went awry when we had this intern back in the mid '90s.
Well, they have identified a fellow. I'm not going to say his name on the radio, but apparently he was the former chief financial officer. He no longer works for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools, and the goat has been scaped. And so the state obviously is the problem. This guy's the problem, and now we'll see. Really, ultimately, it is the people of Forsyth County's problem, and that's unfortunate.
I hate that for him. But, this is the kind of thing that generally, hopefully, in an election, will yield some solid results.
Yeah.
Maybe get some school boards, and maybe honestly, a superintendent needs to be fired over that. I mean, I don't understand how you keep the superintendent on. I mean, you scapegoat the finance guy that's not there anymore. The superintendent ultimately is in charge, and I don't see how you keep that superintendent in place. I don't want anybody to lose their job, but the buck stops with him. And then every
$32 million.
Yeah, and every school board member should be voted out.
In the private sector, if you're running a division of Ford Motor Company, and your division is $32 million,
you're fired. You're fired in a heartbeat.
The same thing. I mean, I guess you can make all the excuses you want, but in the end of the day, somebody needs to
some additional heads have got to roll. The worker bee finance guy is not the guy.
And hopefully, absolutely get all of their finance procurement and protocol all in order. But from school districts behaving badly to a college behaving goodly.
Goodly. Solid word. Well done. Goodly. Yes.
If I can't say UM, then you guys are going to be stuck with all of my made up words.
Make up words. Goodly. Right. Yes. Our alma mater.
Yeah.
UNC Charlotte. Go Niners. So many of you probably saw the viral video of the undercover, I guess it was James O'Keefe, who posted it, and of somebody who was an administrator working at UNC Charlotte, who was essentially bragging about the fact that DEI, because Trump had ordered that DEI programs and things like that be shut down, not funded, and it was an administrator there talking, bragging about the fact, oh yeah, it's still here. We just renamed it and put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
That video went viral very quickly. But to UNC Charlotte's credit, they acted quickly the moment that it came out, and that person is no longer there. But I mean, kudos to them. That a lot of universities sometimes will sit on stuff like that and everything like that. But UNC Charlotte, to their credit, and I'm very proud of my alma mater there, took action very quickly.
Yeah, they did. So the statement that was released by UNC Charlotte, a few things I'm going to take out of it. It said the employees' statements were inaccurate and do not reflect the university's actions. UNC Charlotte continues to uphold both the letter and spirit of the UNC system policy and all federal and state laws. So it looks like they had a rogue employee, but I can understand how she would feel that way, as meaning the employee, because this stuff has been ingrained, especially in system administrators' heads, for a long time.
It has.
Hundreds of millions of dollars has been spent to condition and train people to, say things in certain ways or act in different ways. And so you cannot just remove that ingrained, entrenched Kool-Aid, drinking, from these folks. So I could see why she would say that, because she probably truly thinks that. And maybe she said the quiet part out loud, that we all are going to have a little bit. This is just not a one-time thing. Like, we in UNC Charlotte did an amazing job and continue to move forward and have to take these strong stance, or then you just become mealy-mouthed and nothing really ever changes.
Yeah. And I think, and you were 100% correct. And this was not this mentality was not ingrained overnight. And honestly, it wasn't ingrained over the last, 6 to 8 years. It has been going back decades. And this is one of the things that I will give Democrats credit for. Back in decades and decades and decades ago, Democrats recognized that controlling institutions of higher learning was the way to build a party ideology that aligned with them. They recognized that decades ago. Republicans were asleep at that. Republicans would scoff at higher education. They didn't spend a lot of time focusing on it and everything like that. The issues were different, and that was true for decades. And we ultimately see what the results were by the 90s and coming into the 2000s. You then had the majority of public institutions and most larger private institutions, basically controlled by left-leaning individuals. And that's just the fact of it. And it's still the case when you look at donations. Like, I was reading an article, because Trump is still at war with Harvard. And I don't think Harvard's winning this one. They're
about
financial.
What about, didn't a court just uphold their petition to allow for foreign students to attend?
May have, I'm not sure. But I mean, here's the deal. Here's what I will tell you is any of these instances where Trump imposes something like that, there is going to be an immediate lawsuit filed in a friendly district court that will side with the university. That's how this happens. People, I mean, it comes, we had the 3-judge panel attempt to strike down Trump's tariffs.
Don't half the lawyers probably serving at a certain level in that jurisdiction probably were educated at Harvard or Yale?
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they district shop these things where they know they've got a bunch of liberal judges that will side with them. And, this 3-judge panel, sided against Trump, saying he couldn't impose tariffs. And it's like, really? It's like, judges, you have no purview over this at all.
Yeah.
And, Democrats yell about a constitutional crisis. It's the judges that are causing it. It's those liberal judges that they district shop for. But, in this instance, they did side with it. And that will continue to happen. I mean, ultimately, I would wager that the vast majority of any decision Trump makes is going to have to be litigated at the Supreme Court level for his entire presidency.
Yeah.
There will be no rest. It doesn't matter what he does, there will be a lawsuit. There will be some liberal activist federal court judge that will put a halt on it or try to strike it down. And it's going to have to go through the appeals process all the way up to the Supreme Court, which really, in my opinion, district court judges should not have the power to implement nationwide injunctions. And that's whether they're a conservative judge or Democrat or a liberal judge.
Right. And I think that's going up to the Supreme Court. Now, interesting enough, when red state judges would block some COVID restrictions, it seemed like that would always go away. But it's almost like, I agree with you, like there needs to be some kind of checks and balances. And I think there is a lawsuit tracking specifically about that on one of his, according to Ben Shapiro, but he talks so darn fast.
He does talk very fast. It's tough to keep track. But
not only did Trump and the Harvard go with these large universities and their endowment, the same thing happened with the big, beautiful bill on 2 universities local. So I don't know if you had seen this.
I didn't.
Thank you for not hitting me.
I didn't hit you. I'm done hitting you.
You
It
can hit
ruined your
me.
train of thought.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can. Okay, but at least I'm starting to be cognizant of it. Maybe it's worse.
You keep looking down at it like
it's coming,
I'm just going to
coming.
grab it and whack you with it.
But 2 schools in North Carolina made this list. Both, well, you probably know. Could you guess who are the most wealthiest schools in North Carolina? They're private colleges.
Oh, that would be Duke.
And
Ding, Wake Forest.
Close. Because of the size of their endowment, Duke and our very own Davidson College.
Oh, Davidson! I always forget about Davidson.
Yeah, don't forget about Davidson.
I make it. I want to forget about Davidson.
Why?
I make it the People's Republic of Davidson.
So the idea is that the House Republicans bill proposed increasing taxes on Duke and Davidson endowments from 1.4% to 7%. And if you guys remember what an endowment is where university alum folks, sometimes they even do life insurance where they endow the life insurance policy proceeds over to the college. Over time, you build that up. And then apparently the endowment is supposed to be used to subsidize kids to go to school because it's $60,000 a year to go to either one of those institutions. And they use that money to...
Did it say how big Davidson's endowment is?
It probably did. Let's see if I can go through this. And that was not a, let's see.
Or Duke's endowment.
Duke's endowment... 950 million student adjusted endowment.
950.
Duke University is estimated to have 950 million student adjusted endowment. Davidson College would have an 800 million student adjusted endowment. I think I need to double check those when I was looking through that. But anyways,
so let's put this in perspective. What was Duke's?
I don't know that those numbers are right because the way it's written, it doesn't make me think that, but it was getting taxed at 1.4%. And now the suggestion is that it goes to 21% on the endowment.
Well, here's my thing. You have institutions like this that have huge endowments, right? And they only admit 3,000 kids a year.
Yeah, they do. Well, I know that Davidson does have quite an intimate size on their student body.
And so it's like, because I think Duke's total student population is close to maybe close to 18,000. I know that's not that many on campus, but it's like you have these huge endowments and you're charging what you got.
Davidson's endowment is valued at $1.3 billion.
Okay.
As of December of 23.
And what's the total student population of Davidson? Since you've got the handy dandy AI up there. See, we're doing on the spot research here.
That's usually how it happens. Total enrollment. Okay. Well, you got to do, okay. Total enrollment. What is the total enrollment at Davidson College? 1,900.
1,900.
Oh, wow. 46.8% male and 53.2% female.
1,900 kids and a $1.3 billion endowment and 60 grand or better a year to attend. Add things that make you go,
Well, interesting enough, though, what I thought was kind of interesting is this proposal came out of one of Davidson College's alumni, and actually was one on their board of trustees or chair of the board of visitors. I can't remember which, but Congressman Greg Murphy. He is this tax provision came out of that. So I'm sure that's kind of interesting. But I do know the president of Davidson. He is the kindest person, and I've enjoyed getting to meet him because I do represent them. So this is in no way slighting Davidson. It's just
this isn't personal. It's simply looking at a simple math equation.
Well, the cool thing is that I believe Davidson College can be exempt from this because all religious institutions are exempt from this rule.
Yeah, and it was started.
It was started in 18. And
was it a Methodist? Was it Methodist?
Presbyterian. And so it was founded in 1837. And it's the statement of purpose was the religious foundation. So that's what the president says they're going to try to get through to this exemption because they're a religious university. And arguably, I guess Duke University could say the same because they are Methodist. Congressman Moore was quoted something differently there.
Congressman Tim Moore?
Yeah.
What did he have to say?
So he also
always good for a quote, by the way.
He just makes me laugh. I love it. Congressman Moore strongly supports the one big beautiful bill overall, and he recognizes concerns having been raised with the provision and is hopeful the Senate will refine it. That's what his Moore spokesperson said. Additionally, our understanding is that Davidson would not fall under the religious exemption, as they've made it very clear they are not a religious institution.
Ooh.
So interesting.
Catch 22, right?
Yeah.
Catch 22.
Yeah. Little shots fired there. But
So,
anyway,
but the state doesn't tax endowments, right? Does the state tax endowments?
You know what? I do not know. I really do not know.
That would be interesting to know if North Carolina taxes endowments.
But I mean, you get taxed on capital gains, and that's kind of basically an endowment, but just on property, right?
Mhm.
So,
well, I know they don't for public institutions, but for private institutions, well, it wouldn't make much sense to tax public institutions since public institutions receive state money. I mean, that would be a little self-defeating, right? In order to do that, yeah. But I think honestly, these endowments. Look, I support education. I support endowments, and things like that. But at some point in time, there does have to be an examination of how these things are administered. If the purpose of the endowment is to make school cheaper, more affordable for kids, and you have 1,900 kids and you have a $1.3 million endowment and you still charge $60,000 a year to attend, what is it that you're getting there on the Davidson campus that's worth $60,000 a year?
So arguably, I would say that probably a network and connection, because you and I both know in professional life, it's not who you know. No, it's not what you know, but who you know that gets you there.
But you still get
it's
that
what
connection.
You know that keeps you there, right?
But why is that? Yeah, and it is. And
I mean,
agree
really,
100%.
that's what it is.
But how do you put a monetary value on that?
Well, apparently,
how do you say, hey, you know what? You're going to come
do.
here. You're going to get basically the same education here. You're going to get anywhere.
So you and I went to UNC Charlotte and the connection. I mean, we're two alum of an amazing
and
university.
my entire education cost $10,000 for all 4 years. Yeah, because it was like
20. Mine was 20. That was my scholarship amount.
Mine, I think my total amount was like 10 at the end of the day.
That's because you're rich.
That's because what do you mean rich? Yours cost more than I did. Is that just because we
went to school at the same time? In fact, I went.
No. You graduated many years before I did. You were there much earlier, much earlier than I did. I was.
That is fair. I was way cooler than you.
Exactly. You graduated a full 2 years ahead of me, I think. But I think these things do need to be looked at.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I've said it before on the show. I love disruptors. I love people that come in and at a certain point in time, they challenge the status quo. Right. You have to, because it keeps people honest and it makes you seriously look, because it is not common for us to look internally in our organizations and ourselves and stuff like that. You bring in a disruptor, people are forced to look at it.
Okay. A couple of things. I'm excited about a disruptor, but this is I'll make it 30 seconds. Joe Rogan. Love the podcast. Listen to it every week and back on my way home into Raleigh, because it's perfect time. And listen to his Ancient Apocalypse and all of these new age archaeologists that are coming on and what they're discovering across the world. That's all I'm going to say.
Listen to Joe Rogan.
Well, it's absolutely fabulous what these archaeologists through new technology like LiDAR and
is this like the big pillars underneath the pyramid thing?
All of it.
Okay.
Like Egypt is like kind of like not even that great.
Egypt was built by aliens. I'm sorry.
It was built by aliens. The same aliens. Because if you look at all their stuff they're doing with Peru, like Machu Picchu is just one part of it. But then all of them, is it Nas lines or whatever? Anyways. So I won't do that because I know that only excites a few of us, but make sure that is a disruptor. So things are getting disrupted. So stay tuned. Probably this next year is supposed to be some of the most amazing archaeological things that are coming out that may blow our mind. But the second market disruptor, which the reason why I want to tell this story is because I still hold to the central belief that insurance rules the world. Mm-hmm. They are the true Illuminati.
I do not disagree.
I do. Okay. So RFK, have you been pleased? I've been pleased.
I've been pleased so far. Again, disruptor.
Right.
A disruptor.
That's what reminded me of this, is that he is disrupting, and he removed the COVID vaccine from the approved vaccination list. Not approved like can't be administered, but where it's not recommended anymore.
Good.
Me too.
I wonder how many people still get do you still get the COVID shot?
Well, I can tell you how many people, the same ones who are driving around in their car with a mask on.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
I still see it.
Yeah, I still see it too.
I still see it.
But no, I have not taken the COVID shot.
I'm
since
not taking the shot
one.
ever again.
I took the first one. I don't know if I can't remember if I did the booster or not.
I did not.
You did not do
the booster?
I did not. I took the first one. But it was funny because you remember back when all this was going on, Johnson & Johnson was the one that everybody had a real problem with. It was only like 60% effective or something like that, and people were seeing all these things. So like, to have fun, because during the COVID you had to do something to have fun. There was this awesome picture of a guy. You remember Sloth from Goonies?
100%.
It's because remember everybody would post in
Like
their Facebook, I got vaccinated.
Yeah.
So he had the Sloth thing on it, said I got vaccinated, and had Johnson & Johnson across the top. So I posted that as my Facebook picture. It came up in my memories the other day.
Dude, have you seen some of the things on the I need to stay off of the conspiracy stuff, but
it's not a conspiracy if it's true.
It's true. Have you seen some of the initial reports from the autopsies for people who've been dying from certain ways and they have been vaccinated, and some of the common themes? And this is alleged. This is all like maybe not thoroughly researched.
Allegedly.
Please do your own research. But from my research, I saw that like there are commonalities in those who are passing away or have passed away from having the COVID shot. And there's something they cannot deny.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I'm very interested to see more information about that.
Yeah. I think, from my standpoint is where we are now versus where we were then. I always like to make sure I keep perspective.
Yeah.
And we, at the time when COVID first came out, no one really knew anything except Fauci. He knew it came from China and covered it up. But anyway, sorry.
He knew it all.
He knew it all. But when the vaccine started coming, I mean, people, there were a lot of people, our leaders and everything like that were going off of, we didn't know. And so we need a vaccine, and pharmaceutical companies like that, they rallied to try to get us to where we needed to be. The challenge for me started coming is as we got deeper into it, we kept holding tight to things that we knew were not true. And we kept being directed towards things that we, in fact, knew were not to be true. And we didn't adjust. And we kept kids out of school when it became very clear early on they were low risk to get it. We kept them out. We put them online. We have an entire generation that is going to be playing catch up for the rest of their lives to try to mitigate the damage of that.
I think AI will take care of all that.
Well, honestly, AI is going to be running everything at some point in time. I mean, Skynet's going active pretty soon. That's from the Terminator. I know you don't do movies.
Now, this one I actually did read out of like a public trend, because I got on the AI thing since I had some time to review. They predict like the white collar slaughter. I think that's what they call it. White collar slaughter that AI is going to do is going to just go through. I mean, it's going to make, that's what another reason why I'm interested to see how universities are going to handle this. So if you have AI, I think you can spend, it could be free, but you can spend up to like $200 a month.
Yeah, depending on which platform.
Depending on what platform you want to do. And if you needed it to write a lease for a tenant, which normally you'd have to call your attorney, the attorney would send it to the paralegal. They have a boilerplate that they would just enter your stuff. The attorney checks it over, all that could cost, I don't know, $300,000 to $600,000. I don't know. The attorneys be attorneying. Anyways, you can now put all that same information into the ChatGPT or whatever AI you have, especially if you have that accelerated professional version, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I've used it a couple of times for those, not for a lease, but like for employment contract, consultant contracts that I do. I've used it a couple of times for that.
Yeah,
in order to write one, and it does it, and that will be the jobs. Like, so for example, I graduated with a degree in public relations, and so went into the corporate world doing that. A lot of writing involved in that, press releases on events and things like that. You can plug in those things now. And so any job related to, writing and producing a product of contract, written, press releases and stuff like that. I think that will be the ones that will go pretty quick. And because the AI can do it, and anyone can pretty much. Now you still have to have some background to understand how to talk to it. But the more people that talk to it, the more it gets in there, the easier it's going to be for AI to produce those things.
Scary stuff.
But the market will adjust. I mean, we used to have people deliver ice and milk to our homes, and
we still do. It's called Instacart.
Well, but I'm talking about like actual, came in with the big block of ice and dropped the milk on your front porch and everything like that. People don't, there are no milk delivery men anymore.
There are.
Well, that's Instacart. They deliver things like that.
Old is new again. They just are different. There's milkmen and women.
But the point being, we adjusted to not having milkmen and ice delivery men and stuff like that. And the market will adjust to this. There will be new jobs created. There'll be new opportunities. That's what our market does.
Yeah.
But there'll be some pain as AI grows.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to learn more about it. I signed up for an online tutorial to see what I can do and learn. So all I wanted to do, and my assistant does as good a job as he can, but he can only do so much as what he's given because I don't always give him everything. I want to be able to talk to ChatGPT and say, put this in my calendar. Remind me what's on my calendar. Tell me what's going to be
Well,
here.
Siri will do that now.
Again, it's all about input.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you know,
okay, fair.
right.
Like you want them to be able to do it with as minimal information from you as
It's
possible.
possible. And I also wanted to answer all my emails.
Okay. There
just
you
from
go.
a voice command.
Yes.
Like if they can say, David Coble says, you did an amazing job not saying on the radio show today. If that's the email, then I can just respond back and say, thanks, David.
Yeah.
Thanks for the stick.
Well, now I mean, you can do that now. Like if you pull up your email,
I know
like in my Outlook,
but I
like
just don't
you can
wanna...
hit the pre-packaged reply.
Yeah.
Just, oh, boom, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I want it to be like Alexa. Like when I say to Alexa, put Reynolds Wrap on my shopping list, which I love.
Yeah.
Then that's what I want.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see.
We're
It's coming.
We're getting there close. I'm willing to bet that AI can probably do between Siri and Alexa. I think they could probably do the majority of what you want. You just haven't like taken the time.
That's probably very fair.
Yeah. So basically, you need to get to the point where you no longer have to take the time.
That would require.
You can get that Neuralink chip that Elon developed. You can get that Neuralink chip in the brain.
Oh, I'm going to be right in there. Totally in there. Neuro me up.
You're going to be one of the Scions.
100%.
You don't have to worry about zombie. You don't have to worry about zombie apocalypse. You're going to be a robot, an AI robot.
I'm just going to donate my body to science and see what happens.
There you go. One cool thing that I did do this past Memorial Day weekend while you were chasing dogs, I got to go down to the Coca-Cola 600.
Yes.
I don't like the race, but it was cool. The people I got to see, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was there.
Oh.
And then we went over to the Knights game, and Charlotte announced and celebrated the awarding of the World Military Games to Charlotte and North Carolina.
Fantastic.
A lot of people may not be familiar. There is a World Military Games that has been going on since the 30s.
Wow.
And so basically it's military military personnel from around the world, all different countries come in and they participate in Olympic sports.
How cool.
And so this will be the first time it's ever been held in America. And so it's coming to Charlotte, North Carolina. They had the kickoff and the announcement. So it's be in May or July of 2027.
Fun.
It will be here. So it's going to be a ginormous event.
That's exciting.
For the state and for the city. So keep an eye on that, but it's going to be amazing. The U.S. Performance Center that's headquartered on the campus of UNC Charlotte was instrumental in bringing in that. They train and rehab Olympic athletes and do a lot of great cool medical rehab studies and things like that. So it's a great organization. We're key in bringing that in. The Belk family, who have been affiliated with the Olympics for a very long time. So got to make that announcement. So I got to see that. It was very cool. Fireworks and all.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What a great deal.
Thanks everybody for listening to us. We'll be back next week. Have a great weekend.
Say what you want. Thank you for tuning in to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie Sawyer and co-host David Coble. We appreciate your time and input as we discuss the issues shaping North Carolina. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for more updates and insightful conversations. Take care and keep participating in the conversation.
AMWAME 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. A Supreme Court ruling lets President Trump end so-called humanitarian parole for 500,000 people from 4 countries, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, and it pushes the total number of potential deportees to nearly 1 million. The Department of Homeland Security says 500 sanctuary jurisdictions around the country could lose federal funding for obstructing enforcement of federal immigration laws. The president will visit Pittsburgh today after he announces details of a new deal that offer a new start for iconic American steelmaker U.S. Steel. It's Elon Musk's last day on the job, heading up the Trump Department of Government Efficiency. And consumer prices rose 2.1% last month from a year ago as inflation continues to cool off. More details, srnnews.com.
Dennis Prager here for Equity Protect, the company that completely prevents home title theft and fraud. I've met Jim and Ryan, the owners of Equity Protect. They started Equity Protect because title fraud and equity theft are direct threats to American consumers, especially if you own your home free and clear or have high equity. Most title lock companies merely monitor your title, then let you know once fraud has occurred. Equity Protect is simply better. Equity Protect completely stops any attempts to steal your home equity and ownership. Get your free risk assessment at equityprotect.com. If you're low risk, sign up for their free monitoring service. If you're medium to high risk, get their full protection. For a limited time, my listeners can get 30% off your first year with the discount code Prager30. Go to equityprotect.com/Prager. That's equityprotect.com/Prager, or call 888-213-2959. That's 888-213-2959.
The Carolina Swap Shop, weekdays at 10 a.m.
I talked to the man in the moon. I said, sir, is she coming back soon? He smiled and he stated, son, I'm overrated. I've had too much credit in those old love tunes. I don't know a thing about love. I just kinda hang here above. I just watch from the sky. Will love grow? Will it die? I don't know a thing about love. Then I asked him, where is she tonight? You must see all things with your light. He said, son, I could tell you things that might kill you, but I don't get involved in what's wrong or right. I don't know a thing about love. I just kinda hang here above. I just watch from the sky. Will love grow? Will it die? I don't know a thing about love. He said, I can move oceans when I take a notion, or make mountains tremble and rivers run dry. But in all matters human, remember there's someone in charge of those things way above you and I. I don't know a thing about love. I just kinda hang here above. I just watch from the sky. Will love grow? Will it die? I don't know a thing about love. I don't know a thing about love.
Thanks for listening. I'm Randy Brooks on 550 and 92.9 WAME Real Country. Well, now that summer's here and you need a good excuse to get the kids out of the house, well, it turns out it is beneficial for them to be outside playing in the sunshine and the fresh air. I'll tell you why coming up.
We drove right past that no trespassing sign. We sat on the tailgate and watched the planes take off. We thought we had all night, there was no need to rush. That's when those cops came pulling up. And I thought, man, ain't this some shit? Your daddy's gonna kill me. But if I survive tonight, I wouldn't change one thing. Baby, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but there was something about the way the blue lights were shining, bringing out the freedom in your eyes. I was too busy watching you going wild, child, to be worried about going to jail. You were thinking that running for it would make a good story. I was thinking you were crazy as hell, and you were so innocent, but you were stealing my